The world has lost a true king in Chadwick Boseman. It's an unbelievable tragedy that many are still reeling from. And as we mourn and grieve together, we start to look toward the future and how the MCU can best honor the actor who turned T'Challa into an icon. Obviously, this is a tough time and a difficult topic to address. And we understand that this is a very delicate situation, but there are a few options that the MCU can go with that will both be respectful to the late actor, while also continuing to have Wakanda be an integral part of the MCU's future. We'll discuss all that while continuing to praise Boseman's incredible performance right now. It hit us all like a sledgehammer when we first heard the news that Boseman was no longer with us. Boseman was an amazing actor, and he did such great work bringing an important character like T'Challa to life. It went beyond just a character, as he served as a symbol of unity for the world. So it was a total shock to learn that he had passed, but also has forced people to start to think of the long-term ramifications that his death brings to the MCU. Obviously, this is a tough situation, and one that requires a lot of respect and consideration in order to truly honor what Boseman did, because it was clear that both Black Panther and Wakanda especially were going to be an integral part of the MCU going forward. With most of the original heroes gone after Endgame, the MCU had already started to lay the groundwork for the next era of heroes, and at the forefront of that was Black Panther. That first film was a landmark superhero movie for a lot of reasons. It was praised for its villain, its introduction to a brand new world, and was the first MCU movie to win Oscars. But at the heart of the movie was Chadwick Boseman's incredible portrayal of T'Challa. Without him, the movie wouldn't have worked as well as it did, and we easily could have had a scenario where the MCU's future was built completely around T'Challa. On top of that, Wakanda has proved to be one of the most important locations in the MCU. After the first Black Panther movie showed that not only was Wakanda the most technologically advanced civilization in the world thanks to its massive amounts of vibranium, but the ending of the film showed T'Challa opening up his country's doors and sharing their presence with the entire world. We haven't really seen the true ramifications of Black Panther's movie ending because almost immediately afterwards, Thanos showed up and changed everything. But Wakanda didn't just fade to the background like a lot of other MCU locations. Rather, Wakanda was the location of the final battle between the Avengers and Thanos, and it's where Thanos snapped his fingers. The point is, both T'Challa and Wakanda proved to be incredibly important to the future of the MCU, and now the franchise has to make some tough decisions regarding both the character and the country in light of Boseman's tragic passing. Above all else, the main goal should be to honor both the character and the actor who played him. This is practically an unprecedented situation when it comes to a central actor within the MCU who has passed away. T'Challa is not just a side character they can ride around, nor is Wakanda and all of its inhabitants a location that the MCU can ignore now. So what should they do? The big question is, do they recast T'Challa completely and have a new actor assume the role and continue on with the story they already mapped out? That is certainly one option, and we're in no way saying that's right or wrong. By all accounts, Chadwick Boseman was a real-life hero just as much as he was a fictional hero. And I feel if it meant continuing to inspire people with what T'Challa means to so many people, then Boseman would be okay with them continuing T'Challa's story with another actor in the role. But you have to wonder how much negative attention and feedback that decision is going to get. If they went that route, then all of Black Panther 2 has the potential to be overshadowed by people more focused on this new actor as T'Challa and comparing him to Boseman rather than what actually happens in the movie. So with that, you could make the case that T'Challa shouldn't be recast at all, and that definitely has merit. But then what? If the MCU decides to not recast the role and continue on with Wakanda and Black Panther stories, then what would happen to T'Challa? Although this could be seen as an incredibly insensitive move for the MCU to continue, they would have to kill T'Challa off. And to make matters even worse, they would have to kill him off screen, where whatever happens to him is just told to us. But that doesn't sound like a great situation either. After everything we've seen from T'Challa, would it really be right for him to just get back from being snapped for 5 years only for us to hear about some battle or fight that he lost and died in? That's not going to seem genuine or natural. So is this franchise stuck? Not necessarily. I think there really is a way that could continue on with these characters and both honor T'Challa and Boseman, and it has to do with the ancestral plane. Black Panther was by far the most spiritual movie of the MCU, as it took time to explain that the ancestral plane, or astral dimension, was a place to connect with ancestors. And listen to this quote that T'Challa said to Black Widow in Captain America: Civil War.
In my culture, death is not the end. It's more of a stepping off point.
Wow, that's beautiful. It's clear that Wakanda has a close connection with the afterlife, and maybe this is the best way to continue on with Black Panther's story. Because again, you can't write T'Challa off and you can't just say he died in a fight. But what if something else happened to him? Now, this might be a radical idea, but if you think about it, I think it's a great way to move forward. What if T'Challa had to stay in the astral plane for some spiritual or important reason? The movie could open with T'Challa being summoned through some spiritual vision to the spirit realm. Remember that at the end of Black Panther, Killmonger had burned all the heart-shaped herbs that allow people to visit the ancestral plane, as well as grant someone the powers of Black Panther. And now the universe is trying to correct itself because the balance is off. T'Challa could be transported there and asked to make a sacrifice. If he gives up his life, his spirit, and his role as Black Panther, then that would cause more heart-shaped herbs to grow. Like maybe his Black Panther abilities in the ancestral plane seep out into the real world and more plants start to grow. Basically, it's T'Challa giving his life in order to ensure that there will be more Black Panthers in the future. Now that's a really noble sacrifice. One that's fitting for his character and doesn't require any actual T'Challa screen time. The movie could open with his family close around his unconscious body, and we get an explanation that he's in the ancestral plane, and this is truly an unprecedented moment. He passes away surrounded by loved ones, but everyone realizes that the herbs are starting to come back, and they piece together what T'Challa just did. Is it a perfect situation? Absolutely not. It sounds very exposition-y and a little clunky, but it does find a way to honor the character perfectly while also setting up a new Black Panther, Shuri. Because really, that's the best way to move forward. Shuri was the breakout character in the first Black Panther movie, and there is a comic precedent for her becoming Black Panther. Plus, it's just an overall great character arc. You remember that Shuri in the first movie doesn't necessarily honor or follow a lot of her nation's ancient traditions or rituals. She's more likely to make a joke than to take anything seriously. She seemed perfectly happy to use her brilliant scientific mind to just invent new gadgets and play around while her brother did all the kingly activities. But now she has the chance to really grow into a full-on hero. If T'Challa keeps his spirit in the ancestral plane in order to create more heart-shaped herbs, then it might force Shuri to step up to keep her country intact. Wakanda needs a centralized leader that can keep all the tribes united, and with her overwhelming intelligence, she might be the best person for the job. Because maybe there's no one else. Okoye probably stepped up a lot while everyone turned to dust, but she seems more like a fighter than an overall ruler. Same with M'Baku. He challenged for the throne once, but having learned his lesson, is he happy where he is now? That leaves Shuri as the clear successor to the throne. And with that, we basically get two good things. We get to see the Black Panther title live on, and we get to see Shuri grow into her own type of leader, which is a great storyline for her. T'Challa was very rooted in spirituality, but Shuri's main focus definitely is science. So what happens when a brilliant, headstrong, scientific mind has to take on duties that require a complete understanding of spiritual belief? That's what I want to find out with Shuri. And imagine the conflict Shuri would have to face as the new Black Panther. She would be inheriting a kingdom that could be in trouble. For 5 years, presumably half of Wakanda was gone, including the two heirs to the throne. So there's a chance that Wakandan political landscape is completely different right now. Before Infinity War, Wakanda was just starting to open itself up to the world, but then Thanos had to come and ruin everything. Plus, not only did they lose their leader, but they also lost their top scientific mind. We've seen how smart Shuri is, and the producers have confirmed that she can rival even Tony Stark's intelligence. For that top mind to suddenly vanish right when the country wanted to share technology with the world, that would be a tough break. So Shuri would have to learn not only how to be a proper leader, but also unite her potentially fractured country and also continue her brother's legacy of opening Wakanda up to the rest of the world. Yeah, that's kind of a lot, but I have complete faith that Shuri would be able to handle anything that's thrown at them. And this also allows Wakanda to still be a central location within the MCU. Now that everything is getting back to normal with half the universe now returning, there has to be talks about what officially becomes of the Avengers. The Sokovia Accords aren't really around anymore, and any remaining support of it should have gone right out the window when the Avengers saved half the universe. But they definitely need a new home base now that Thanos has destroyed their main compound. And the new perfect location for it? Wakanda. Think about it for a second. It has the largest source of vibranium in the world. Where else should the Avengers be stationed? Picture this, Black Panther 2 would see Shuri trying to honor T'Challa's vision of opening up the country, but struggling due to an outside threat attacking Wakanda, maybe someone like Dr. Doom or Namor. Then, at the end of the movie, she realizes the best way to both share Wakanda tech with the world and protect her own homeland is to establish the new Avengers base there in Wakanda. So again, the situation we're in is absolutely awful. It's still a little mind-numbing that we won't be seeing Chadwick Boseman as T'Challa again. But there's a way for the MCU to move forward in a respectful manner that honors everything Boseman brought to the character, and in the end, that's the most important thing of all. How do you think they should handle Chadwick Boseman's tragic passing and Wakanda's future in the MCU?